Hey guys, King Kaiju here. I am currently recording this in late March and it is currently 4:30 in the morning. However, I am going to record a video that I'm going to start and hopefully finish by April 16th. To anyone somewhat familiar with the Jurassic Park community, that date might hold a little bit of significance to you because it is the official day that the Jurassic World Mattel line was released. In this video, I hope to talk about the state of what the Jurassic World Mattel line has came to, since the day I'm going to be releasing this will be the 3-year anniversary of the Mattel Jurassic World line being around. And let's just say there's a lot that has changed since 2018. Also, right before we get into the video, I just want to clarify two things. For one thing, I'm going to be giving out my, along with basically half of the Jurassic World community's opinion, and I know that there are some people out there who disagree with what I'm about to say. However, I and many others feel like these are valid criticisms that should be addressed. Also, for people thinking that I'm just complaining over pieces of plastic, I can say with 100% certainty that there's a ton of Jurassic fans who disagree. One of the biggest things that me and a lot of other Jurassic fans love Jurassic Park for is the merchandise that came out for it. It's what many of us grew up with, and for the next generation of Jurassic fans, this is what they're going to be growing up with. And with the recent things Mattel has been doing, I don't think that they're doing a very good job with it. With those two things out of the way, let's get on to the issues I think that Mattel has and how I think that they can fix them. This one is arguably the biggest problem because it's the one that affects a ton of collectors the most, and that is the distribution issues that Mattel seems to have with a lot of their figures. A few examples of this include certain Legacy Collection figures that have not been released in the UK, the Mosasaurus not getting released in the UK for a little while. I believe as of recently it did, however for a long time it was never released there, and probably the most infamous, the Spinosaurus, the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, not being sent over to the United States, however having a ton of sales in the UK. I know at least for the Spinosaurus, not sure about the other things I mentioned, that they could not sell them in the United States because stores like Target, which is the ones that had the Legacy Collection of figures, refused to sell it. I'm not fully sure why Target rejected it in the first place. However, disregarding Target in general, there are plenty of other retailers that would be happy to sell a Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, including places like Walmart or even Amazon. I don't know why they just didn't send it over to Amazon. Maybe they did and I'm just not reading into it as much as I should. However, I'm pretty sure that Target was the only place that it was supposed to go. Also, seeing as Mattel has a net worth of billions and billions of dollars, I'm not sure why they just can't sell it on a website of their own. I don't think that that would take too much effort, and I don't think that that would take too much money out of their already humongous pocket. I know that there's a lot of people already who complain about repaints and retools because they think that a single repaint is the biggest sin a company can create. However, I do think it starts to become an issue when some dinosaurs are getting between 4, 6, to sometimes even close to 10 repaints. Currently, there is about 50 species in the Mattel line when it comes to dinosaurs, and only about 12 to 13 of those have never been repainted or re-released at all. I think that if a figure has 2 to 3 repaints, that is perfectly fine because that can help build a herd if a kid wants to have that, or if he wants to have a male and female, it also works that way too. But with that being said, I have no clue why Mattel gives us like 20 raptors, about 10 Gallimimus, I'm not sure how many we're at now, but I think it's close to 10. And even if you want to make the argument that these are herd animals, there are other dinosaurs that Mattel makes that get a ton of repaints. Good example of this is the most famous Jurassic Park dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Even the 4 I just showed are not all of them. If you want to include the most recent images revealed of the new Tyrannosaurus Rex coming out, there's an astonishing 9 Tyrannosauruses in the Mattel line, and you want to know the funny thing? 8 of those 9 are supposed to be Rexy. Edit, that is false information. There is actually not 9 Tyrannosauruses. I forgot about the budget figures. That pushes it up to somewhere close to like 12 to 13. I have absolutely no clue why Mattel needs that many Rexys pushed out, most likely because of popularity and money, but as fans it gets annoying just seeing Rexy over and over and over again. It would at least be cool to maybe see a different variation of a Tyrannosaurus, but we keep getting the Rexy colors and it gets annoying over time. What I can recommend for Mattel to do is, of course, stop giving us so much repaints of certain species of dinosaurs like raptors, Gallimimus, and of course Tyrannosaurus Rex. It would honestly help out the line a lot if they just stopped giving us those specific species and maybe focused in on, you know, new species like things like Mamenchisaurus and Corythosaurus, which are species that we desperately need. The overall message here is stop giving us so many repaints of the same species, please. Quality control with the Mattel Jurassic World line is another very big problem similar to distribution, and rather than going over points, I'm just going to kind of show you a couple of figures that I own and a few problems that I've noticed myself. So the first point that I want to make is with the Amber Collection Velociraptor. Now overall this figure is good, however it does have a pretty big problem, the bendy tail. Most collectors, myself included, have noted that the bendy tails in these break very easily. I only had this thing for about 3 months, and after a little while, this broke. I wasn't doing anything extreme to it, I wasn't throwing it around or anything. After moving it for a while, it broke. The bendy wire inside snapped in half. And of course, obviously, the Amber Collection Raptor should not have a broken bendy wire tail. But moving away from that, let's now go on to the Sinoceratops. Now, this figure actually had a mechanic inside break. If I shake it around, you won't be able to hear it because I think it's just gotten itself stuck somewhere in the figure, which is obviously not that good either. However, I'm bringing out this figure to point out another issue that I think Mattel has. Do you hear that? Do you hear the cheap plastic quality? Especially right there. This does not sound like good plastic. As Matthew Brando, I think, pointed out in his video, it sounds like that if you were to throw this on the ground, it would shatter completely. And that is not a good thing. We should be able to have good quality Mattel toys. They should have good plastic quality. But figures like this Sinoceratops do not at all. I'll make this one relatively quick. Let's go on to the Spinosaurus. Firstly, paint chipping. That's never good. Secondly, that's awful. Thirdly, again like the Sinoceratops, bad quality plastic. Then moving on to the tail, it usually flops like this, and it comes to me where I just have to place it like this, and most of the time it will stand, it will eventually fall down, but for a while it will keep like that. But if I just want to have the tail neutral, like this, see how it flops? That is a big issue, and I don't think this is just mine. I think there's a ton of other people that have that. And I don't get it, because up here at the neck, as squeaky as it is, well, never mind, I spoke too soon. I thought that it could hold a position like that, but as you guys saw a moment ago, flops down. Also, do you guys see that right there? That right there? Let's get up close for you from up here. Look at that. The plastic on this is chipping. Those two sections right there are supposed to go together, but because of that, it is now completely and utterly ruined. And don't worry about this dust. This is just because I've taken it outside for some photos. This is not the figure's fault. However, still, look at that. It's not supposed to do that at all. I have no clue why it's been splitting like this, but still, big issue on Mattel's part. And the final issue I want to show off is with the Albertosaurus. Notice how the neck is flopping down? I'm not even shaking it around that violently, and the neck is just really floppy. Like, see? It's upside down now, and the neck is down. When I turn it, it goes back down. So yeah, the neck on my Albertosaurus, and I'm not sure if this is with anyone else, but the neck on mine is just really flimsy. The tail is fine. It can actually hold a pose. Well, for the most part. It's not as bad as the neck, though. The neck is god-awful. The tail, it's got some issues, but not as much. Which really, it still should not be excused, but still. Anyways, I think that this is a really big issue. Similar to the Spinosaurus' tail, we should not have loose joints. Come on, Mattel. I will say for the most part, the accuracy and detail on most figures that Mattel has made for their Jurassic World line are pretty damn good. However, there are a few things that I want to mention when it comes to this category. To most accurately go into why this has some flaws, there are 3 subcategories when it comes to accuracy: sizing, small details, and paint schemes. Starting off with paint schemes, an issue that I keep seeing with Mattel figures is they sometimes will release a figure that is meant to be a dinosaur from the franchise, and it will have a paint scheme that looks almost nothing like the actual paint scheme. To be fair to Mattel though, they will sometimes actually update a paint scheme from an old figure and make it into a new one with a repaint, and it will actually look significantly better. With the small details section, we're going to have to go right back to that old Cineceratops. You see, the new Cineceratops that just came out actually looks really good, minus one small detail. The horn is absolutely massive. It's really not a tremendous problem at the end of the day, because for one thing, it actually looks pretty cool. You know, it looks like maybe an alpha Cineceratops or something, but there's also Cineceratops in the Jurassic World series that just have normal sized horns, and I think a lot of collectors, myself included, would like to just have a normal Cineceratops. Technically, this next figure is not out yet, however, it still serves a purpose when talking about small details being left out, because although it's just a promo image, still I think that it should serve as a valid representation of the figure. This is the new Bumpy figure that just got revealed by Collect Jurassic. This is going to be in the Dino Escape line and also probably the Camp Cretaceous line, and a key feature of Bumpy is that one of her horns is smaller than the other, and as you can clearly see on this figure, the horns are the same length. The horns on the skull are the exact same length. At the end of the day, it's not really that big of an issue because we're not going to be looking at that specific spot. However, the baby Bumpy Ankylosaurus, it did have the small little horn, and I'm not sure why Mattel didn't include it, probably because of money, but still, small little details like that would have been nice to see. Next issue up is sizing, and ironically, this is actually the biggest problem out of the 3 I mentioned. 3 figures that I think of particularly when the issue of sizing comes up are the Triceratops, Edmontosaurus, and Allosaurus. These are kind of like the medium scale figures. They are the sound making ones, the ones with electronics, but really they should be as big as figures like the Carnotaurus and Stegosaurus. They are just incredibly undersized, and seeing these figures bigger would be a lot better, but for some reason Mattel just insists in keeping them the way they are. This is a more recent issue that just popped up in the Mattel Jurassic community, and technically it should belong in the last category I put out, quality control and accuracy. However, I think it should have its own category because it's pretty recent. So to catch you all up on the situation, Mattel recently released images of a Legacy Collection Dennis Nedry set with a Jeep Wrangler and a Dilophosaurus. However, the problem sparked up when in Jurassic World Beyond the Gate, which is basically just meant to show off toys, they showed this set and the red stripe on the back is missing. I'm including this in a different category because the Legacy Collection especially is a line that me and a ton of other collectors think is one of Mattel's best works. It's probably their best line. And with this red stripe missing, it makes me question, is the quality of the rest of the Legacy Collection going to go downhill? To be completely fair to Mattel, on the Smith's website, they did update the images to where the red stripe is gone. However, it is still disappointing because you've shown that you can make the red stripe, so why not just make it? Of course, my suggestion here should be pretty obvious. Put the red stripe back on the figure. It is not that hard. We should have the red stripe. It's accurate to how the original vehicle looked. You've shown that you can do it. So please, from the fans, do it. This is a pretty odd category, however, I think it's still needed. I'm not sure why, but Mattel seems to have a thing for including useless action features onto their dinosaurs. This isn't necessarily an action feature, however, with the larger predators, they will include feet articulation, which would be cool in most senses. However, when it's just spinning around, I don't really see a purpose for it. Now we move on to the Delta and Blue Savage Strike that just came out with the slashing feature. Yeah, this is awful.
The actual Savage Strike action feature would be this button here on the top. We push that, moves the arms so that the raptor can now slash its arms and attack whatever you are making it attack, which is pretty cool, but not the best action feature, I will say.
My suggestion here to Mattel is actually poll people on what would be a good action feature, and trust me, we will tell you. This is not it though. This slashing thing is terrible. In my opinion, more posable figures would be really cool. Seeing a posable Baryonyx, a posable, I don't know, Tarbosaurus or Seatsmecrium. Seeing those figures with posable abilities would be incredible, and Mattel, we know that you can do them. If you have to raise the price on us, that is completely fine. We would buy them. Mattel has made a few playsets, however, I don't really think they're playsets rather than they are just dinosaurs with humans. Most of the time it's things like the Dennis Nedry with Jeep and Dilophosaurus, or the Baryonyx with Owen Grady and a couple of compies. Those are not the traditional playsets that me and many other fans want. With the Lava Surge playset, that is what we want. Things like that. Now, I would have liked something a little bit bigger, not just a little corner piece. However, it still works as a good playset. It is still what us fans want. Unfortunately, that is one of the figures that kind of got cut off with distribution, but still. Off the top of my head, I can name at least 3 things that Mattel should do for playsets. A command compound similar to the one Kenner did, a raptor pen, either the one in Jurassic World or the original Jurassic Park, and a ship from Fallen Kingdom that has an inside where figures can walk around and maybe even store a dinosaur in. Mattel, we know that you can do it. Please, this is what the fans really want. While it's far from the worst line that Mattel has created, Dino Escape is definitely the most disappointing so far. The action features also look pretty boring and stupid. I would have preferred if you just stayed with the Primal Attack action features, because those are god tier, those are amazing action features, and they are definitely the best that you've had with the Mattel license. The capture gear does look incredible though, although I do wish that the smaller figures also had it, not just the big ones like the T-Rex and the Carcharodontosaurus, but it is still very good. Thank you for listening to us, Mattel. Then we come to the budget figures, which, yes, I am aware they are budgetary figures. Not everyone is going to be ordering these, but still, these are terrible. The paint jobs suck. They have screw holes, like, come on. Overall, I think that this Dino Escape line needs a big update. Give action features that are good to things like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, as well as giving capture gear to not just a few dinosaurs, all of them. Mattel seems to have an issue where they give a lot of love to a majority of the carnivores, but when it comes to herbivores, we don't really see a lot. Not that love for them doesn't exist, but it seems like they're focusing more on the carnivores and less on the herbivores, which is a real shame because the majority of the time, the herbivore figures are actually better than the carnivores. And I know that there's going to be a few of you out there who disagree with me, but in my opinion, the herbivores are just better. Good examples of this are a lot of them are undersized, such as the Triceratops, the Styracosaurus, and the Edmontosaurus. They all need to be bigger. As well as that, there is only 2 herbivorous dinosaurs in the entire Jurassic World line that have posable jaws, that being the Brachiosaurus and the Apatosaurus. This is the Beast of the Mesozoic Zuniceratops, and do you see that posable jaw right there? Pretty cool, isn't it? As well as everything else on this figure being posable. You can move the neck, tail, legs, and even midsection. Everything on this figure can move, and Mattel, this is what we want to see. This comes from a much smaller company, but still, it is doing much better than you are, so Mattel, take from this figure. This is going to be the shortest category. The Jurassic World Facts app, which is meant to coincide with the stickers on the bottom of the feet of each dinosaur, is one of the most boring and useless things I have ever seen. That might sound harsh, but in my opinion, it is just that. It is not that good of a thing. You don't really do much in it besides scan the dinosaurs and learn epic and cool facts about them, which really no kid wants that. It's cool to learn about them and all, but at the same time, you kind of need a little bit more more than just that. I'm not saying delete the app because it does have potential, but definitely give an update to it where you can do something cooler with it. I don't see a ton of people talk about proportions, but when I asked a few people on Discord, there was one person specifically who talked about it, and I'm glad that they did because it is a pretty big issue. Figures like the Mosasaurus, the Primal Attack Carnotaurus, and the Indominus Rex are all very, very poorly proportioned. The common issue with all three, along with many, many other Mattel dinosaurs, is the fact that they have humongous heads with really, really small tails. It's a pretty simple fix, just make them properly proportioned, that's all that we ask. Just make the heads smaller on a few of them, make the tails longer on a few of them, that's it. This is an issue that Mattel seems to be working on, but I think that they need to crack down on it a little bit harder. We need some more human figures. And I don't just mean from Jurassic Park, I mean from all of the movies. Jurassic Park The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World The Fallen Kingdom. We need human figures from every single one of the movies. Firstly, starting off, we need a small Ray Arnold figure. You've given us an Amber Collection one, now we need a 3 3/4 inch one. Two characters I really like from the Lost World that I'd like to see get a figure are Sarah Harding and Roland Timbo. And as for Jurassic Park 3, the Kirby's and Billy would all be nice to see in figure form. Either way, Mattel, whatever you decide to do, we need more action figures. There's definitely some humans that you've left out, and a lot of collectors, myself included, would like to see them get figures, so make figures of them, please. Alright, so this category is just going to be things that I'd like the Mattel line to do. Vehicles and playsets are another big thing. In my opinion, you need to cut down on your dinosaurs a little bit and focus more on those. Trust me, kids and fans alike would love them, so please give us just a few more. Vehicles from the Lost World and the original Jurassic Park, besides the Jeep Wrangler, need a lot of love. The Ford Explorer, we need one of those, and there's quite a few vehicles in the Lost World that you have options to do. Of course, this entire video had a ton of suggestions that you can do to fix a few things and give us a few things that we want. However, this section, this category that I'm talking about, these are the biggest things that we want. I probably missed a few things, but I think that this serves as a good message video to Mattel and what I think that they should do with their line. Mattel, you have potential, and I've seen that you have potential, and so have a lot of other fans. The OG Fallen Kingdom line and the Primal Attack line, in my opinion, have been your best offerings, and because of those offerings, we know that you can definitely do good things. I have seen some people say things about the Jurassic World Mattel line that, in my opinion, are pretty absurd, like the fact that you're not Kenner, so everything you do is wrong. I'm going to hope that was a joke, but at the same time, I don't think it was. I'm not asking you to be Kenner, nor is any other fan. However, I do think that you should definitely take some things from Kenner and use them in your own line. Again, I did not mention every problem that Mattel has. I left a few out because I didn't want this video to be an hour long. However, Mattel, if I did not mention it, chances are you are probably doing it right. Things like the range of figures we have. As I said before, there's about 50 species in the Mattel line, not counting the new ones that have been released in Dino Escape, so I think you're doing really good with that. Sculpts are for the most part very, very good. They're very well detailed, and most of them are like the film counterparts. Action features are kind of a hit and miss. Things like the Primal Attack figures I think are really, really good, but when it comes to things like Dino Rivals, that entire line was just bad. But despite all the things I have said throughout this video, I do think that you guys can do good, and I have hope in you. I have hope that you will listen to this video and improve upon the things that I said. This is what the fans want, and I hope that I spoke for the majority of them. I know that there's going to be a few people who think differently than I do, and that is perfectly fine. Everyone is open to have an opinion. But I hope that this video served as a good representation of what the fans want. You guys can tell me down in the comment section down below. I will see, and I might even make an update to this video later. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.